Welcome to the Greysheet Market Report. Today we have two very interesting guests in our studio, which is the first time ever that we've used this studio. So welcome to the inauguration of the studio. We have John Kraljevich, who we will refer to mostly as JK during the interview because we don't like saying your name too often. And this is Erik Goldstein. John Kraljevich is, I got to read your exact title, the Director of Numismatic Americana for Stack's Bowers Galleries. And Erik, who's a really interesting guest, is the Senior Curator of Mechanical Arts, Metals, and Numismatics at the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. That's a big business card, right?
It's a mouthful, yeah. Very small font to get it all there.
Is there an acronym for the whole thing? Like, SCMM, whatever?
You need an acronym.
We got to come up with an acronym, maybe on today's podcast. But anyway, this is our first time doing the Greysheet Market Report in a studio setting. So we appreciate the team of women that are here helping us today. And we hope we don't, flub it, because I've never really done it this way. I've really just usually sit on my laptop and talk into a screen. So I'm excited to actually interact with real people.
Here we are.
And we are here, why? Because of the Baltimore Whitman Expo starts this week in, where else? Baltimore. And we're all heading up probably tomorrow night to trade, meet, have dinners, and all kinds of things that we do with these events. And Stack's Bowers Galleries is a major sponsor of the show. And John, as head, what are you, the Director of Numismatic Americana?
There you go.
That's not the DNA. You're the DNA.
I am the DNA of Stack's Bowers Galleries.
So you are the DNA of Stack's.
Yeah.
Is here, and he's got some really. Not only does he generally write and manage the catalogs and whatever's coming at these sales and others, he's been really busy working on a story. The story, 11,000 words of it, behind the new $1804 discovery from the Stack collection, and you're going to shed some information because I'm completely ignorant about this new provenance. I've really never been a student of the $1804. It's a coin. I've sold almost every rare coin in some way, shape, or form. I kind of had the whole checklist myself. I don't have a 1933-20, and I don't have an $1804 because the Richmond collection didn't have a set of bust dollars.
There you go.
So let's talk about all this stuff. And Erik is going to talk about the values of colonial muskets.
Nice try. I'll tell you, anything you want to know about colonial stuff. Yeah.
Anything but pricing was my stage direction. So anyway, Erik is here to, I'm really excited to learn about not only a little bit about colonial musketry and armor, but where does that cross into numismatics? Because you're the only guy probably in the world who can do that for us. So
it's kind of simple. It goes back to my interest as a child. But when you think about, the world powers of the 18th century and the early 19th century, world governments only produced two things: money and military arms.
Really?
So there's sort of an interesting overlap between the two. People who like antique coins tend to like antique arms, and vice versa.
That's right. We always had coin and gun shows. We had coin and stamp shows. Now we coin and gun shows, and now we really don't overlap those any longer culturally. But anyway,
the demographics match. The demographics match pretty easily for coin collectors and, say, antique gun collectors. But the historians in us recognize that many of the personalities match, many of the manufacturing processes match. So you get people like a guy named John Harper, who was a cutler, made swords, and also made New Jersey coppers. You get a guy like Adam Eckfeld, who was a trained blacksmith, who was making bayonets, and then was forging dies at the first Philadelphia Mint. So there's a lot of similarities.
Right, especially in the colonial era, as it were. Does it diverge later? I mean, around the War of 1812, do we stop seeing that kind of overlap of manufacturing and similarities between coins and guns?
I think when we get to the industrial period, you have, federal arsenals, things like Springfield, Harper's Ferry. When they're set up, they're fully funded federal programs. So
what is that? What is Harper's Ferry?
Harper's Ferry it was a national arsenal.
Okay.
So they were actually building firearms for the United States Armed Forces right then and there.
Okay.
Same thing up in Springfield, Massachusetts.
But what year? I'm always going to ask you, what years are we talking about? Because I don't know, and I know most people don't.
Springfield was there in the Revolutionary War, and they really get up and going in the 1790s.
Okay.
And they're working through the 20th century.
Springfield was making firearms up through World War II. Yeah.
So are there a lot of people collecting colonial era weaponry today?
Yes.
How is that as a hobby?
It's difficult because there are more people interested in Revolutionary War weaponry than there are good examples to be had on the market.
Period. So that just stunts the market. Honestly.
It's an active, vibrant market, but the top tier stuff never makes it to the marketplace.
No, really.
It just
Unlike
it gets
coins.
absorbed by top-end collectors who are well connected. So it's difficult. You know, you kind of have to pay your dues. You have to really know what you're doing when you get into that.
So how does
hobby.
that work? I'm a well-to-do collector, and I love, I don't know, let's say the Revolutionary War era, and I want to collect, one of each of the, the Union and so on, or the United States, the colonies. Excuse me, I gotta shift wars. I gotta.
Here in Alexandria, there's always a little bit of tension between
I was going
Rev War and
through the
Civil
Civil
War.
War. But anyway, you want to switch. Let's say you're interested in collecting, coins of the era, of the colonial era, and then you're also interested in the weaponry of the era. Coins, really, we know they go to auction. These coins, almost all the best collections go to auction. I don't know too many exceptions of that in the current era.
Not recently.
That's because most coin collectors. This is my opinion. You correct me. I think most coin collectors don't want a pre-assembled collection. They collect the thing that they enjoy, and they don't want the whole Megillah. But you're saying when the weaponry comes, there's a few dealers that are just really renowned? Or?
It's a little more complicated than that. There are dealers, there are collectors. It's a small community of well-connected people, but what's true for collecting antique arms is also true for numismatics. I always tell people, don't just jump into it and start buying stuff. Buy the book before you buy the bayonet, or buy the book before you buy the musket, because you've really got to know what you're getting into. And there are, a lot of treacherous areas, because a musket is 59 or 60 or 75 different individual components, any of which can have a problem or can be replaced or can be faked. Coins tend to be just one single object, and there's plenty of room for monkeying with a coin, as we all know. But with firearms and things like that, there's a much greater span of potential problems. So it's difficult. I tell people you have to buy the book, you have to become well connected, and you have to spend a lot of time looking at good examples of things in museums and advanced collections.
Is the museum that you represent in Colonial Williamsburg, is that the museum for this kind of
It's
artifact?
one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an excellent collection. We're always expanding it. And, one of the things that I try to do personally is I try to make it available to anybody who wants to come and look at it.
Okay, so someone can reach out to you by email or something, and then have a private session where they get to see some of the backroom things.
Exactly. It's my privilege. It's part of my job. So if you say, hey, Erik Goldstein, I'm going to be in Williamsburg in a couple of weeks, always wanted to see a pattern 1730 brown vest musket, I can make that happen. I just ask that people make an appointment with me, and we'll put on our nitrile gloves and we'll examine this thing up close and personal.
You guys are second nature to the world of museums and things, and I'm not really. I've just gotten some nice introductions to some numismatic cabinets, and I'm always amazed by the access that all you have to do is ask.
It's what they're there for, man.
It's amazing, right? We always, I think most of us consumers of museums see them as places you visit on work hours, and we don't feel that we have the right to tie you up and ask you for that. But what other museums would you suggest if somebody's interested, and what book or two?
There are a number of books that are a little bit obsolete that were published between the 1960s and the late 1990s by a fellow named George C. Newman. They're sort of the best way to jump into it.
Not
kind
related
of the
to
Red
Erik?
Book of American
They're
Revolutionary
kind of
Weapons.
Red Book. They don't deal in values, but they give you the spectrum of what the field contains.
Okay.
This
You
is
plug your
a
own
cartridge
books?
box. Nah, I don't plug my own
Plug
books.
your own books. You're on a podcast.
My books
he is
are
a published
way
author.
into the
into
the weeds.
Well, come to Williamsburg, because do you sell those books in Williamsburg?
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them. So learn by looking at a collection or two. If you get to the next level, then maybe send an email and really dig in. Because I've never come to visit you, and Williamsburg is like an hour from me.
Yeah.
I drive by very quickly, quite often.
We have good barbecue too, so there's that.
And my sister's going to hate me for saying that, because she lives in Williamsburg. So apologies, Nancy, for even saying that. But it's anyway, that's great. And let's shift gears slightly, get a little bit on the coin side. JK, you've been strangely left out of this conversation.
I know, I'm not quiet that often.
So tell us what's really cool in your world right now.
Well, let's see. Last night, about 4:30 in the morning, I finally finished the description on this brand new $1804 dollar. And when you get a coin like this, at least for me, I'm very conscious when I sit down to write an auction catalog that, I'm going to be dead and gone someday, but these books and the catalogs that I write are going to be around forever. And I know that some smart aleck like me in 100 years is going to correct my mistakes just the same way I do to the smart aleck who wrote a catalog from 100 years ago
I hope not, but
that I'm
maybe.
using as a reference.
But maybe.
Somebody.
Sure.
So you try to do a good job, and inevitably that means taking your time, probably dragging your feet a little bit and procrastinating in my case to get over the anxiety of doing right by the coin, of bringing honor to the piece, not leaving anything out, obviously not making any mistakes, consulting with other experts, this sort of thing. It's a process.
Pause really quick to explain what we're talking about. The 1804 silver dollar.
Yes. So Stack's Bowers Galleries recently got consigned a group of coins from the collection of a fellow named James A. Stack. James A. Stack, as he was often pointed out in his correspondence at the time, was a customer of the Stacks, but not related.
Right.
He was not a member of the Stack family.
Nothing could be more confusing.
So, you know, there aren't multiple Kraljevich families in numismatics, but there are at least multiple Stack families. So he was not related. But he was a New Yorker. He died in 1951, and he put together this absolutely amazing collection of U.S. coins and paper money between, say, 1936, 37, when he kind of really got started, until his death in 1951. He was a titan of industry, had all kinds of money, lived in Manhattan, though he also had a house in the Hamptons where the family spent most of their time, and assembled all the best stuff. And if you ask people who are real numismatic connoisseurs today, the people that collect really top-notch stuff with a lot of eye appeal, and ask them, what's your favorite old provenance? When you hear one particular name, what's the name that you associate with great surfaces and great color and great eye appeal? And, you know, people will throw out names like Harry Bass or Amon Carter, but James A. Stack, to the people who really know, everybody knows this guy had a great eye. So all this stuff is really...
He had a great eye, and he didn't clean his coins, which a lot of people did in that era, sadly.
No, benign neglect. He died in 1951, and the coins were left alone.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
For instance, I recently cataloged a mint state 1795 flowing hair dollar from the James A. Stack collection.
Okay.
When it came to me, it was still in its original paper envelope from BMX Mel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like, there's no substitute for that. That's why we do this job.
I had the pleasure of seeing Erik Newman's collection when it was in paper envelopes, and it was just pretty spectacular.
It's a joy
to see each of these bust-halves that are gem coming out of paper envelopes, and with little typewriter on each envelope and scratched out, like, you know, paid 65 cents for a 50-cent coin,
right? Yeah.
You know, or just amazing artifacts. That's as much apart. So you saw
for sure
these coins in their original.
I got to see a lot of them raw, which was a joy. You know, getting to see an $1804 raw. I mean, you know, I've been writing auction catalogs for 25 years.
Was it warm?
By the time we were done with it, it sure was. I'll tell you that. You know, and
like the center of the earth, you know, it's like comes out from somewhere.
You know, as a kid, so I've been doing this my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I got into coins in a big way. You know, I wasn't even 10 years old yet, and this will expose what a dork I was. But when I was
No, sorry.
Man, friends like these enemies. So, but in my childhood bedroom, you know, you have your poster of Corvettes.
Mm-hmm.
You got your poster of, like, you know, Mike Schmidt, because I grew up a Phillies fan.
Okay.
And I had a poster of the King of Siam $1804.
Okay.
You know, Dave Bowers sold that coin in 1987. He made a poster of it, and that was hanging up in my bedroom from probably the time I was 10 or 11 on.
Fair.
You know,
fair.
And actually, a little secret, it's still in my
bedroom. As long as you have Mike Schmidt up there as well.
You got to have Schmidt, you know, absolutely. You know, I had a Led Zeppelin poster. Like, I wasn't a total
Right. Of course.
So, but you grow up thinking maybe someday I'll get to see an $1804.
Sure.
You never dream as a kid of 10 that, you know, when you're in your late 40s, you're going to get to catalog not only on $1804, and at this point I've done a few before. I did Pogue, you know, the child coin, you know, and the Pogue sale and whatnot. But to get to catalog a brand newly discovered one,
right.
There hasn't been a new $1804 discovered since the King of Siam set was discovered in 1962.
Right. Who knew there was another $1804 to be discovered? How many total $1804 are known?
16. This is the 16th.
And they're class 1, class 2, class 3.
There are 3 classes. That's right.
Class 2 only exists in the Smithsonian.
There's only one of those. That's right. That's right. In the Smithsonian.
So class 1 and class 3. Which class is this?
So the class 1s are the so-called originals, and those are the ones struck in 1834 for distribution, primarily to Asian monarchs, to, you know, foreign heads of state.
King of Siam set.
King of Siam set, the, you know, Sultan of Muscat, all that kind of stuff.
The King of Siam set is a proof set from 1834. They didn't have a silver dollar, so they put the last dies they had were 1804 dies laying around, right?
Yeah, they went to the mint and said, you know, we need to make this set of coins.
What's the latest year you got? 1804? Sure, we'll take it. We're on a budget here.
Yeah.
And
they were trying to make
Andrew Jackson, right?
Andrew Jackson wanted a set of all of the coins in silver and gold to show to these, you know, Asian monarchs, to show the might of the U.S.
Right.
And basically said, have one of everything. When was the last time I made a silver dollar? 1804. Are the dies still around?
Right.
No. Now, of course, there were no $1804 struck in 1804. Those were dated 1803.
So
they made brand new dies.
Oh, they did. In 1834, they made 1804 dies. Why did not make an $1834?
Because that wasn't authorized by legislation back then.
Interesting.
Exactly.
And the $10 gold piece is also 1804. Is that the only two 1804s in the set?
That's it.
Okay.
So
the rest are all 1834s.
That's right.
And hopefully we'll have a picture to show of the King of Siam set. But it's a pretty awesome looking velvet tray item.
Oh, it's
that,
fabulous.
believe it or not, when it's sold in, I don't know, the 90s or the 80s, it wasn't even that, like it didn't get a lot of bidding. The coin business has been through some cycles. And the Mona Lisa of today, which is kind of this item maybe, the King of Siam proof set, wasn't desirable at a certain point, or to me it would have always, and to you I am sure that you and I geeking out as kids always wanted this set. I always did.
1,000%.
1,000%.
Absolutely.
But the market wasn't appreciating it at the time, and it still exists today. Is it the Tyrant collection?
It is.
Okay.
And when the Tyrant collection bought it, the real goal of buying the King of Siam set was to get the choice proof 1804-10.
The 10.
That was what he really needed
There's
out
two
of the
of those
set.
now?
I think there's 3 actually.
2 or 3?
Yeah, I think there's 3 of them.
John Albanese loves the 1804-10. I'm not sure if that's the example, but there's like a black and white cameo 1804-10 in existence. That is such a monster. That might be one. I mean, we say what the most valuable coins in the world are, but this 1804-10 has the potential.
It's a cool
because it's the rarity plus the amazing beauty of it. Like not every coin, and we'll go back to your 1804 because I told you yesterday that I don't like $1804. One reason is how many known? 15, 16?
16 now, yeah.
How many public? How many can collectors have?
I think there's 7 or 8 in private hands, something like that.
So this is the 8th or something?
Something like that, yeah.
All of the ones I've ever seen, including the Child's Coin. I saw the Child's Coin at Stax when it was being sold with the 13 nickel. I don't remember what year, 1990 something.
Child's Coin came out in a Bowers and Moreno sale in 1999.
1999.
Yeah, there wasn't a 13 nickel in that sale.
Okay. Oh, so I'm thinking, okay.
You're probably thinking of Eliasberg, had an $04 and a 13
There was
nickel.
some sale, no, the collector from Texas had an 1804 and a 1913 nickel, I thought.
Oh, at the other company.
At Stax.
Oh.
I was in, my memory is like at Stax Galleries on 57th Street, looking at the coin with Bill Nagel and...
might have been Reed Hahn.
Reed Hahn,
there you go.
thank you. Yeah, the Reed Hahn specimen.
Yep.
But every 1804 I've seen, which is let's say half a dozen in person, plus the ones in the Smithsonian, are severely, well, not severely damaged. They're everywhere from severely cleaned to somewhat not as wonderful as they should be. So even the Child's
was done on
68,
purpose.
yeah. So I just think that I never was like, that's an amazing coin. Now 94S dimes, second to my mind, number 2, number 3 with the 13 nickel.
Yeah.
They all sort of suffer from, they're not, when you see one, you're like, okay, I know this is rare, but it's not as beautiful as I feel like I should be like, knock my socks off.
Sure.
And what we talked about yesterday was that this coin is.
This one's knock your socks off.
This one knocks your socks off.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. So you got the originals made in 1834, and 2 of those are really, really beautiful, and they're the 2 that are known to have been given to foreign heads of state. So the Child's Coin is the Sultan of Muscat coin, and then the King of Siam is, of course, given to the King of Siam. And then the other ones have other sordid stories that we can get into some other time. So then the so-called class 3s, this is a class 3, are called restrikes. They're struck from the same obverse as originals and a different reverse. They made a brand new reverse in 1858. And basically what this catalog description will state was that these coins were struck in 1858 or thereabouts with plain edges. And they were basically sold by mint personnel who were on the take. They were selling these things to put profit in their own pockets. But as they sold these 1804 restrike dollars with plain edges, the collectors got them and said, these things are shiny. They don't have edge devices. Are you making restrikes? No, no, no. We would never make a restrike. Why don't you just give it back to us? So they recalled all of these plain edge 1804 dollars.
Oh, really?
About 1860.
Sort of confiscated them.
They took them back, right? Because they
How
basically
many?
knew
How many?
the gig was up. About 10.
Okay.
So they brought them back and then sat on them. Because a new game came to town, a new administration, the Lincoln administration came, James Pollock became the mint director, and he was sort of a play-it-by-the-book kind of uptight guy. So
we don't like him already.
No, we don't like him. So he leaves after the Lincoln administration ends, and the gang that was involved in restriking coins in 1858 as like lower-level clerks end up in charge. They end up appointed before they were, clerk and
The
junior
inmates
clerk.
are running the asylum.
Bingo. That's exactly right. That's what happens at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia in the late 1860s.
Interesting.
So they decide these guys hated these things before because they looked new. They were shiny. They didn't have an edge device. So what are we going to do? We're going to put an edge device on them.
Okay.
And we're going to apply wear. We're going to make them look old. We're going to age them. And that's why
they're mushy.
Most of the $1804, most of them were struck mushy, with 3 exceptions of the class 3s. There are 3 sharp $1804 from the class 3.
Oh,
all right.
wow.
One of them was the Linderman coin. Linderman was the mint director. He was in charge.
It's high relief.
Essentially.
It's an 1804 high relief.
Essentially. He got to keep one that was really, really nicely struck. That one's in the Smithsonian now. That's the Linderman specimen. And it's beautiful. No artificial wear.
Right.
Well struck. Then there's the Idler coin. The Idler coin is the one that's in the A&A Museum now, and they trot it out and bring it to A&A shows and whatnot. It's sort of the pride and joy of their collection. Aubrey Beebe, who you may remember, donated the coin to them.
Okay.
And so that coin was this personal specimen of sort of the Philadelphia Mint's favorite coin dealer. He was the guy that fenced all of these, restrikes that were made behind closed doors.
Okay. Who was that?
William Idler was a coin dealer in Philadelphia.
Okay, Idler.
And he lived at 109 South 11th Street. Okay, the Mint, and that was the intersection of Chestnut and 11th in Center City, Philly. The Mint was at Chestnut and 14th.
Okay.
Also known as
So he was
Street.
like the Israel Swit of his era.
1,000%.
So history just keeps repeating itself. Israel
There's
Swit
nothing
being
new under the sun,
the favored coin dealer of shill mint employees in 1933.
Bingo. 100% right. And even the proximity is right.
Right.
So Idler lived a 5-minute walk from the Mint, and they sort of laundered all of their wacky restrikes and made up rarities through
Didn't they make
Idler.
half unions in that era? When did they make the half unions?
1877.
So these are all sort of contrived coins. The Mint was trading for cabinet stuff, or
exactly.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
And they were selling stuff and literally pocketing the proceeds, pocketing the profits.
Like that.
And there's a whole big polemic.
How industrious of them.
So these guys, tell me if this sounds familiar, were the 2 guys involved, Henry Linderman and a guy named A. Loudon Snowden. Linderman's uncle was a senator. A. Loudon Snowden's uncle was the former governor of Pennsylvania who became, a congressman who became the mint director. Okay. So these guys were both Nepo babies of their day.
Snowden is definitely a much better known name.
That's right. So James Ross Snowden was the mint director in the first restraking era in the late 1850s.
Right. Okay.
And then his nephew, A. Loudon Snowden, ends up running the mint in the 1870s, which is when the class 3s get sold again with their brand new edges.
So the 1804 class 1s are well struck.
Yeah, they were intentionally beautiful.
Right. So you can almost see a mushy coin. You say that's class 3. So class 1 has what edges? Lettered
edge. They all have lettered edge.
But the class 2 doesn't have a lettered edge. Plain edge?
So it's a plain edge because it's overstruck. It's overstruck on a 5 franc of Bern, Switzerland, dated 1857, which had a reeded edge.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
So I have to look at that. I have to go to the Smithsonian when they...
It's at the Smithsonian. It's overstruck.
I didn't know it was overstruck. So, okay. And it's got a plain edge.
Well, it still shows some of the reeded edge from the undertype because the Swiss coin that struck on top of had a reeded edge, and you can still see that edge reading. So yes, it's a plain edge, but still retains the undertype's
Fantastic.
edge. Yeah.
So the class 3s now have the lettered edge.
Right.
Again.
So they brought them back to the Mint. They sat around for 10 or 15 years in a vault. Not coincidentally, the dies for the $1804 were also sealed in a vault between 1860 and 1867. This is all in the description. And they brought them back.
None of us are going to read the description. Your 11,000 words.
Every time I read a description,
need to be spoken here. This is
literally
the new medium.
Can I tell you a secret? I don't read them either.
Yeah.
I finish my description, particularly if I finish at 4:30 in the morning, and I send it off to our very qualified editing staff.
And that's it. You divorce yourself from it. I mean, I'm the same way, and I don't write much. I'm not a writer, but when I do write, I really, when I read it again, I don't know, the next day, it's completely foreign to me what I wrote. I write in one blinding moment, and that's it.
Yep. And then I've got other stuff to do. I got to move on and catalog other things.
All right, so there's 7 or 8 buyable coins. When I think about coins, I don't usually think about the ones impounded in museums that we can't get to as collectors, and I represent the collector market in a certain way. So when we talk about value, it matters how many exist. So this coin, do you have an estimate? You do that side of things? What did it grade? You didn't tell me what it graded.
It graded 65 CAC CMQ. It's the only CAC.
It's the only CAC coin. Yeah. And John Albanese and I've had that conversation prior to your discovery of this coin that no $1804 could ever CAC because none had the pristine surfaces that he looks for. And so I lamented that idea. Yeah. So I can buy this coin. I will buy this coin.
I hope you do.
I don't have the money. The check will not clear. But
you've got excellent credit.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's
Yes.
good. But
We'll
will I
take
have
care of it.
excellent credit when I don't pay for it? But at least I'll have bought the coin. So anyway, all right. So this is proof 65,
That's right.
CAC, and so now we're going to put this thing into the annals of like 100 greatest. I think it's been number one. It depends on what edition
Yeah.
of Jeff Garrett's book we're doing.
Yep.
But let's call it number 1, 2, or 3 on any given time.
It's the king of
We
American
can call it
coins.
what we want.
Yeah.
It should be number 1. It was always number 1, even when I was a kid.
Well, I mean, it's been number one since
It's number 1.
1860.
It's number 1. No,
Yep.
nothing against the 1933-20, but it's just that the $1804 is the sing song. You know, to me, it's the $1804, the 1894 S dime, and the 1913 nickel. You take your pick.
Yeah.
But really, the $04 has to be there. The 13 nickel and 94 S dime could switch.
Yes.
Even though there's rare coins, there's all kinds of rare coins. Those three seem to be, and then the 3320 comes along in the 90s, and we're like, oh, we're supposed to care.
Right.
But you know, to me, I was not a gold. You probably weren't either. I couldn't collect gold coins when I was little, so I didn't aspire
I think
to
we all
own.
wanted
I could
to.
aspire
Yeah.
to own
Yeah.
a Barber dime,
Right.
And I wanted to finish that Barber dime set. So an SVDB penny, 1943 copper penny is a big deal.
Yep.
But I never aspired to own 1822 $5 gold piece. That was like, I didn't even know that was rare until 10 years ago. I just didn't know.
When I was a kid and I wanted an $1804, do you know what I bought for myself aside from the poster on my wall? An 1804 8 reals.
Yeah.
Because
It's a dollar, right?
in 1804, that was the dollar that was actually circulating in the US.
Right.
They're inexpensive. You can buy a beautiful 1804 dollar from Mexico or Lima, Peru, or Potosi, Bolivia.
Yeah. Or a half cent.
You know? Too small. If you want the
Half
silver
cent-
dollar, you gotta
half
get a
cent
silver
you can buy
dollar.
for $50.
Well, that's true.
And that's what's cool about it.
The
in a
first
certain
coin
way.
I ever bought from Julian Liebman was an 1804 half cent
Yeah. And there's a lot of little varieties.
for
that,
20
like, you know,
bucks.
Not bad.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, you get like the whisker chin one and you know,
That's
the
right.
crosslet fours and all this stuff.
Exactly.
But anyway, so that's great. So before we shift gears,
Yeah.
what's the estimate? What's the house estimate?
So we have a number that's sort of, you know, internal and whatnot. I've generally been telling people $4 to $5 million, which it would be a record for a class 3.
What is the record for a class 3?
Oh God, I should have
Is
prepared.
the child's class 3?
Child is class 1.
Okay, what did
And
that sell for?
That brought
Let's get-
7.8 million.
7.8 million. In what
That's right.
year?
2021 was the last time
Okay.
it sold. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that coin is probably worth about the same today, give or take.
Roughly.
We don't, you know, I don't
Yeah.
think that there's something, you know, it's always about 1 or 2 bidders at that level.
For sure.
But we also wouldn't say that the market dictates a different number. Okay, so, but this is the class 3.
Class
so
3.
it shouldn't,
But it's the only pretty one.
but it's
There's
only-
there's 3
oh.
pretty ones, and that's actually important. So there's the Linderman specimen, the mint director specimen at the Smithsonian.
Okay.
There's the Idler coin, the mint's favorite coin dealer. That's at the A&A. And then the third beautiful one, which is to say fully struck and not artificially aged, I believe belonged to A. Loudon Snowden.
Okay.
We're making news today that has not been announced. It's in the description, but we're breaking some
Yeah,
news today.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Here it is. Put it on the Chiron down the bottom. But I think that belonged to the other guy who served as mint director who was involved in their production.
Okay.
And so they didn't have to artificially age theirs
Right.
because they weren't trying to sell it to collectors
So
as
where
something
is that
it wasn't.
specimen?
That's the James A. Stack specimen.
This is that.
I think it's A. Loudon Snowden's
Oh.
coin. Now, we have 0 documents. There's no provenance. We don't even know what
Do we have
year.
a picture of Snowden holding
We do not.
the coin and
you could
saying, this is
that would-
definitely not my coin?
That's what AI is for at this point, I think. So we don't have any provenance. We don't know where or when James A. Stack bought it, but he only
Okay.
collected for a very confined number of years.
Okay.
Late 30s to
So
1951.
your house estimate is 4 to 5 million.
That's exactly right.
All in with the juice or not? Before the buyer's premium?
I think it gets pretty close to $5 million with the juice.
Okay,
would
that's
be my
20%?
guess. Yeah,
20% buyer's
juice.
premium.
Yeah.
Do you have an estimate? No, you don't do that.
I have no idea.
You're-
If I needed to know what a coin like that was worth, I would call him.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
this is such a unique situation. All I do is spend my life putting values on coins. That's all I do. And
Yeah.
I can usually, you know, give me the clues and I'll figure it out like Poirot and I'll just come up with something. But what's weird about a coin like this is that it's so unique in a certain way. Like there's people who only buy cat coins. So if they only buy cat coins, it's the
got it.
only one you can buy.
You got it.
And that's a big deal.
Yep.
So, you know, you have seeded dollars, you know, that are worth $1,000 in a PCGS XF40 holder in a CAC stickered XF40 holder
3
worth
times as much.
$4,000.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a bizarre market for certain coins.
Yep.
Does the market appreciate this coin for its CACness?
So the cactus helps. the sex appeal of the new discovery, of the sort of,
fresh,
mystery.
auction companies love fresh, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you sell the same Picasso 2 years later, it gets hammered.
Exactly.
So this is as fresh as the day is long.
So that's an added value.
There's a really good story, 11,000 words I heard
That,
somewhere about it.
I think the provenance and the narrative
Sure,
adds
it's
value.
huge, it's huge.
But the superlative nature is what adds value. People just pay a premium for finest known things because ultimately some of this is about ego.
I mean, you've got comic books, you've got cards about on players that are selling for this kind of money.
Yeah.
This doesn't matter anymore. It's not the number anymore. So 4 to 5 million just sounds like quaint for lack of a better word.
Well, and also
like,
when you get to,
of course I'd buy that for 4 million. I mean, I gotta say that based on everything I'm hearing, that if it goes for less than seven, I would say 7.5 is my over under.
Really?
Yeah. And that's just, I didn't.
What did the New England 3 pence bring?
That
was kind of uncharted
2.5 million. Yeah.
And that's
what
nothing.
estimate?
That's nothing to this. I mean, it's a cool coin.
Yeah.
It is the coolest thing, but it's not an $1804.
No.
Does not have the sex appeal of the $1804.
It doesn't have the look, man.
Right.
This
And
$4.
you're saying it has look. I haven't seen the coin yet.
Capital
So
coin.
do you have it with you?
Yeah.
I do not have it with me.
You didn't bring it with you today?
No, so when I catalog really expensive stuff, like I can't do that in the office.
I'm
That
kidding,
is
of course.
special
We're not in
security.
any
So no,
kind of
I jumped on a
facility.
train to our office in Philadelphia. Stack Bowers Gallery says office in Center City, Philly. I can take the train here to Philly. I spent 5 hours in the office. I wrote 4,000 words. I bought a large cheesesteak, put it in my backpack, and got back on the train to come home.
Interesting.
And then spent the next
Where's the
week and a
cheesesteak?
half.
I mean, at least bring the cheesesteak.
Bring
the coin.
I ate that cheesesteak in business class, and I'm sure pissed off everybody in the train car, and I had no cares at all. I was happy as could be.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's worse. There's like a tuna sandwich that would be worse.
But like when I have the coin in front of me, that's when I do all the technical stuff, describing what it looks like, all the little die state, how it was made, kind of stuff.
I love that you love it. I mean, in all seriousness, we're friends, and we can all joke around about John's, going into all the details and writing 11,000 words about this. It's just amazing. But there's just you're in a sense a dying breed for the hobby. Someone who could go this deep and really care.
Yeah.
And I mean, at Whitman, that's kind of like what we're trying to do. I mean, we're lucky that I got to buy this company and foster it and try to. We just printed. I showed you yesterday. There's one on the shelf of we just published a book dedicated to 1922 Lincoln cents.
Awesome.
And other than $1804, there might not be another book that's been devoted to a single coin in American.
I can run down the whole list of books written on single coins.
How many?
So there are 3 different books on the $1804.
Okay.
Dave Bowers wrote one, of course.
Right there.
Edmund Roberts.
That's
so there's this one was the Newman Brissett book.
Brissett.
And then Mark Ferguson did a book on the Dexter $1804. So that's 3.
Single example of a single coin.
Single example of a single coin. Kevin Flynn wrote a book about just the 94S dime.
Okay, correct.
Right.
Correct.
There's a book just about the 1913 nickels.
Right.
There's a book just about the 1822 half eagle.
Okay.
That QDB did.
Okay.
And after that,
that's it.
That's about
and 1922 Lincoln cent.
And the 1922 Lincoln cent.
My Tom DeLory, by the way, and it just came out, and it's interesting. I mean, you might not read the whole book cover to cover,
right?
But you need to know this is a very strange item. This coin,
super useful book to have. Yeah,
it is crazy because all of us. When I say all of us, I mean all of us who really spend a lot of time immersed in American coinage and buy and sell Lincoln cents, Buffalo nickels, whatever. We don't understand this 1922 penny at all.
Now we do.
Now you do. Now you have no excuse for that.
Yeah.
But I do because I read just the introduction and I'm like, okay, I get it. This is a very bizarre story, kind of like your 1804, where there's a reason that the mint unpreparedly had to make coins in Denver in 1922 they weren't supposed to make anymore.
Yep.
And every good coin, every good rarity in the American catalog has a story.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I love 94S dimes. I was raised on the 1894S dime story, real or not real, it's a story. And so the $1804 is a good one. And, the 3320 probably has the best story, to be honest.
But the glory of coin collecting is that there are great story coins that you can buy for $5.
That's
a
right.
1943 steel cent is a great story.
Right.
Go buy one for $1. Like, you don't have to be rich to
collect. They're not worth $1 million
stories.
like you see on the internet every day.
They're not. They're just, I'm sorry to report.
So we got to switch over now to the military. Tell me about the collection actually that Colonial Williamsburg has in coinage. Like that I don't even know, and it's embarrassing.
We have pretty much anything and everything that existed in early America. And how you define America is open for discussion. I define America as the New World.
Okay.
So our numismatics collection really opens with the coins made in Spain for circulation on Hispaniola.
Okay, like when Cortez comes in and
before
okay.
Columbus's time, these coins were struck 1500 to 1504, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yep.
And to me, that's the beginning. We've got a few things that are earlier. We have some Dutch jetons, and we have one of those Joachim's thalers from the 1480s because it's really the first silver dollar coin. So our collection was given to us by Joseph Lasser, major coin collector. Joe passed away in 2011, and he wanted anything and everything that related to early American history. So we've got probably about 1,500 pieces of colonial paper money and continental currency. We've got just about everything in the Red Book. Obviously, there are a few we don't have.
Good plug, thank you.
You know, basically Joe, well, he used the Red Book. You know, the Red Book was his guide to what this collection needed to be. Like, for instance, I'm never going to have an exhibit of 380 varieties of Connecticut coppers, but the main varieties listed for the Connecticut coppers are the important ones that really tell the story of the Connecticut copper coinage of the late 1780s. The only area where he really went in by die variety was in the Massachusetts silver. So we have about 90 different pieces by Noe number.
Right. So just to back out a little bit on this subject, because we went pretty deep quickly, was that the American colonies, of which there were 13 colonies, and then the Continental Congress as an entity itself, but the 13 colonies each issued coins, or
not all of them.
Not all.
Yeah. So
they each issued paper money.
They each issued paper money as the Continental Congress, and this is all part of our history of our country. But what people don't know, and I didn't really know, when I call myself a numismatist, I really do call myself sort of a 19th and 20th century numismatist. Not really 21st and not really 18th. So I don't know that much about this, but I do know that even though all these colonies made coins, Virginia made Virginia halfpenny was a $50 item when I was a kid. I don't know what it is today, 200. But anyway, they weren't really that wasn't really the currency of the realm, was it?
To a small level, I mean, a Virginia halfpenny it's neat, but I don't think it did a heck of a lot until we get to the post-revolutionary period.
Halfpenny.
Well, they weren't released into circulation until late 1775. And
So
then
what
the
were
revolution hit.
So what did you use? What did you buy your ice cream with, or whatever your
in
dinner?
Virginia, I think a lot of it was paper money at this time.
Okay.
There was definitely small change, but it's very interesting because we have a very active archaeological program. So we're digging all the time all over Colonial Williamsburg, or what encompasses Colonial Williamsburg. And to date, we have found over 130 Virginia halfpence. And they come from contexts that we can date as early as like late 1775, early 1776 to about the Civil War.
Were they struck in Virginia?
No, they were struck at the Tower in London.
Oh, okay.
But,
Interesting.
you know, they were all shipped over here. Well, of course, you know about the uncirculated ones that were in Colonel Cohen's keg that
Enlighten me.
moved with the capital to Richmond in 1780 when the capital goes from Williamsburg to Richmond. And they were discovered there before the Civil War. And that was the great source of all the uncirculated.
Right, that's why they're affordable, because it's a hoard coin.
That's right.
Found in just the one hoard really essentially changed them. And are they all the same die variety and so on?
No, it's a bunch of different varieties, but you know, Virginia halfpenny is a funny coin because it's easy to find in VG.
Yeah.
It's easy to find in 63 Brown. Try to find a choice EF.
Same with barber coinage, by the way.
Yeah.
Try to find a barber half an XF.
Yeah.
Right.
They're
that tells me
great
they were
things.
used, right? Except for the ones that were found in the keg. So the worn coins are probably the real legitimately used items, of course.
They were
and
there.
the other ones just sat in these barrels, and kind of like finding an ancient, hoard on a Roman road in England.
But the barrel was here. So even those unks, it wasn't like they were found in some hoard in England.
Yeah.
They were in Williamsburg in 1775. They were in Richmond in 1780. And in Richmond in 1855.
Do coins like that pop up in England as well?
I think they do.
Yeah,
To some extent.
because they were all shipped, but not all were shipped, kind of
No,
aspect?
those were all ships. Typically, when stuff like that happens in England, it's souvenir hunters. English
them back.
visitors brought them back as a souvenir, as a cheap souvenir.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
But there are other issues that are sort of associated with the American colonies that were made in England that were used in the British Isles, like a Woods Hibernia, for instance. All the high-grade ones come from there. And to an extent, lots of early American coins. Think about the Lord St. Oswald. Lord St. Oswald was sort of a misnomer name, but this guy, Rowland Wynn, came to Philadelphia in 1795, and as a tourist, took home a whole bunch of coins. And that's why there are multiple mint state $1794, mint state 1794 cents.
Oh, right.
He took them home as souvenirs.
Yeah.
And the family threw in a box and forgot about them.
Why not? Why not? No tariffs. Nothing.
No tariffs. Nothing. It's a cheap souvenir, you know?
Right. But I was getting at too was the point that within the colonies, you said paper money was how you bartered. Did you also barter with, I mean, Spanish reals or,
Sure,
yeah.
I mean, were they very common? Was that typically what, in British coinage too?
Less so.
Less British coins. So I would say it varied by colony.
Okay.
Because while all the colonies were part of the same economic system, they each had their sort of specialties and had their special trading partners. So today historians like to talk about what we term the vast Atlantic world. People like us like to think about US coins, Spanish coins, Mexican coins.
Right.
In 1780 in Virginia, we didn't divide the economy up that way, and we certainly didn't divide the circulating medium up that way. So Erik and I taught a class at the A&A summer seminar for 20 years on the subject of colonial coins. And we used to tell people that in terms of coppers, for instance, anything round, brown, and metallic would circulate as a copper coin.
It was like a penny.
Yeah, and
If it's the size of a penny, the large cent, it's a penny. If it's
and it
smaller,
didn't matter what the design was.
Because it doesn't have
where
a
came
half
from.
cent's worth of copper.
Yeah.
Didn't
or a
matter?
half penny's worth of copper.
So
No.
but were they so if you were trading? I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. So
Yeah.
is the standard weighting important, right? You got pillar
Not
dollar.
of copper. Silver and gold for sure.
Yes.
Not copper.
So you
Yeah.
you go into the general store, you're trying to buy flour and wheat and so on,
Yeah.
and you go in there and you want to buy it. They're going to weigh that coin. They're going to weigh that.
If it's a silver or gold coin. But if you walk in and want a bag of flour and it's 4 coppers, which might have been the actual price, not 4 halfpence.
4 coppers.
4 coppers is what they
okay.
called these sort of generically. You'd literally hand them 4 coppers, and it might be a Vermont copper, a counterfeit British halfpenny, some French sou, and a coin from the German states.
Okay.
And nobody cared because they were
Nobody
all
cared.
the same
As long as
size.
someone else will take it.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
like silver coins,
That's the
though.
whole key. Will somebody else take it, right?
That's
the
exactly right. Yeah, but a silver or gold coin had to be the proper fineness and proper weight. So that's when you get into merchants having scales,
Right.
merchants having books saying what different coins were,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Right. And a piece of 8, people would take a dollar, cut it into 8s. That's a quarter, right, or a bit.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, all right, I mean, that's way beneath you all's
But, you know.
pay grade. But
No,
I'm just
that's a
saying,
big
we don't.
part of the
I
story.
mean, I know that I don't
Yeah.
really. You don't get taught that in school. And the Red Book does a little bit of a job. I think I'm just sitting here thinking it would be wonderful if you could write a page or two about the there's the coinage that circulates in the colonies, the non-American coinage, and we pay lip service to some of it. But I
Yeah.
don't think that the story is complete.
No.
Or even
It's a complicated story.
yeah.
All right, let me give you some local interest since we're sitting in Old Town Alexandria
Okay,
right now
yeah.
doing this podcast in Alexandria, Virginia.
Hopefully, 1 or 2 people are still watching.
I mean, my mom is bored.
down
I'm
to
sure
1 or
she's
2.
watching. She likes
Okay.
to see her boy because I don't call her enough. Sorry, Mom.
Okay.
So one of the very common coins in the Chesapeake region, so Virginia, Maryland, and the southern part of Delaware, was what was called a pistarine. And this is a Spanish silver coin that was a 2 real, but instead of being 4 to a dollar, like the 2 reals that inspired the quarter,
Right.
they were lower fineness, so they were actually 5 to a dollar. So essentially the godfather of the 20 cent
20
piece.
cents.
That's right.
Okay.
So these pistarines ended up, they had a cross on them and they were very thin, so they were the perfect coin to cut for small change. And if you cut a 20-cent pistarine in half, you get a dime.
Got it.
Cut it in 4 pieces, you get a half dime. When Thomas Jefferson invented the dime, and he invented the dime, he came up with that denomination all by himself.
With an S in it.
With an S in it, because
Right.
everything had
Do
to
you
be
say
framed with him.
Disney or do you say Deem? What do you say?
I say deem.
Deem.
Yeah.
Right. That's like Euro versus Gyro or whatever.
Exactly.
Right,
So,
okay.
but when Jefferson invented the dime, he said that it's equal to the value of a half a pistarine and described the pistarine as a coin perfectly familiar to us all. Didn't even have to explain it. Everybody
Of course.
knew what a pistarine was. Now, how did the pistarines get to America in such enormous numbers that they became the standard small change coin of Virginia?
Okay.
Edward Braddock got here in the 1750s
Okay.
to basically lead the American forces against the French in the French and Indian War.
And he has a road here in Alexandria.
Braddock Road. That's exactly right. And that's the beginning of the road he took to Pittsburgh, right? Braddock lands here at the wharf in Old Town Alexandria. He
Okay.
moves into the Carlisle house a few blocks away from where we're sitting
Okay.
and writes back and says, I need some small change to buy, hay for the horses, food for my men, beer for myself, whatever. Would you send a parcel of pistarines? Do you remember how many pistarines
2,000
Braddock?
or 3,000 pounds worth. That's pounds sterling worth of pistarines. So it was a tremendous quantity of small
Tens
change.
of thousands of coins.
Talk about a barrel of those, that'd be fun to find.
Barrel, right? And so if you talk to metal detectorists between here and Pittsburgh along Braddock's Road, southwestern Pennsylvania, western Maryland, they find these pistarines and the cut fractions of them all the time.
Oh, really?
It's the most common silver coin you find at Williamsburg.
There you go.
And to top it all off, the July...
Cut down pistarine.
A quarter pistarine is very common.
Is there... It is a pistarine derived from the French words like piastre or something like that?
Yes, it's a little piastre, so a piasterine.
Yeah, okay.
As he's fond of saying, I'm going to steal your joke, it is not a foul-tasting mouthwash.
Oh, and I was, okay, right. And
Or
I
a
was
very
gonna
small
say
chamber pot.
that, was he pissed off when he didn't get, his coin, his barrel?
Pistarine, that's
He was
right.
pieced off.
And the other cool thing about pistarines are, when Virginia came up with a new issue of paper money in July of 1775, the lowest denomination was a 15-pence bill, which equated to a pistarine. And the bill actually says a pistarine.
Right on the bill.
Right on the bill. So it's a paper coin. What could be cooler?
Yeah, nothing could be cooler.
And you can buy a pistarine for $100, $50 even in low grade.
Interesting. So that's where history meets coin collecting. And I think that's so. Williamsburg has an incredible. John told me, because you didn't tell me. You didn't brag about the collection. I live
it's an amazing
45 minutes away, and I've never seen the collection. And it would certainly educate me because, like
Working
I said,
on the exhibit now.
Okay. So does that mean you're gonna launch a new exhibit?
We're gonna have an exhibit. At this point, it looks like it's going to open in early 2027.
Okay.
The working title is Of Many One, the numismatic history of early America.
E pluribus unum.
And exactly, E pluribus unum. But it's also it's sort of a double entendre, because rather than having one exhibit in our new Lasser Numismatic Gallery, we're going to have 5 or 6 different separate exhibits that are strung together. One covering metals, metals in early American history, one on the Commissia Americana metals, the continental currency, coins from shipwrecks, a regular old...
Smart, right.
It's going to be anything and everything in the collection.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Well, you got to come and see it.
Yeah,
I'll let you buy me lunch,
For sure.
Yeah.
We would love to. And we would love to support. I don't know how that looks or somehow, but
it's going to be wonderful when it's done. And this is the thing I've been saying for years, when it's done. Colonial Williamsburg will be the only museum anywhere in the world that 24/7 in perpetuity is going to have an exhibit dedicated to early American numismatics. Period. Nothing else.
Great.
So we're
you're the man.
we're going to get into the game, and we've got the collection. Newman had a very good collection, which of course was broken up. So the Lasser collection of Colonial Williamsburg is really the only one of its kind.
Well, there was like a short period from the marketing perspective of, or let's say the retail consumer side of things, collectors. There was like several major collections that flooded the market at once, and this market hasn't really recovered, in my opinion. The coins of the colonial era have not recovered. They're bargains galore in a sense, because it hasn't found its. I was talking with Ursula on a different podcast about European collecting and the problems that I think they have in terms of gaining more collecting, growing the hobby.
Sure.
And it's kind of the same thing that with colonial. It doesn't grow at the same rate as, let's say, 21st century or mid 20th century coinage.
Wish it would.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it can, because we can talk about it. And I think that's kind of one of the things that I really want to shed light on, is why it matters and how accessible it can be. And publish books on how accessible it can be. And I think that's, a lot of it is just very intimidating for people.
Well, the colonial coin market's a little different, and there's a few reasons for that. One, when someone collects colonials, they tend to get a lot of coins. Somebody like Sid Martin, when Stax Bowers sold the Sid Martin collection of colonial coins, he had 10,000 coins. A big pile of coins, ranging from $30 coins to, $1 million coins. And when I first met Sid at little coin shows in Pennsylvania, we were buying the same $30 coins. He just happened to have the good fortune to build a company and sell it for $400 million. So we could buy nicer things.
Maybe next week for you.
I'm working on it. Yeah, maybe. I don't think that's happening. But so when a major colonial collection disperses, thousands of coins come on the market at once.
Right.
Now, if a 10,000 coin U.S. Coin collection came on the market, you have 1,000 professional numismatists, 1,000 coin dealers who are going to be in there buying for inventory. You know how many full-time coin dealers buy and sell colonial coins?
Right.
Now that I'm a full-time employee at Stax Bowers, there's
4.
3, 4.
Yeah.
There's not many,
that's the problem. It's amazing when you see the conversation I had with Ursula. You're going to hear some of these same problems that they have with German Empire, or more interesting if you go backwards into hammered coinage. And the problem is that right, there's just not enough. There's not that dealer community. She brings that up, and she's right, because the dealer community of numismatics, we're really the collectors. Like the dealers are taking on the inventory. We'll go to the Heritage and Saks auctions, and we're just bid on anything that seems like it's too cheap. If it's below Greysheet, I'll buy it, store it, and then hold up its value, right? So a guy like Tony Terranova will sit on a coin for 10 years believing in that coin's value.
But he can't sit on 10,000 colonials.
That's right. But it's a shame, because it makes me think that, like, you shouldn't have sold, the market shouldn't have sold big collections that had no hope. Like, you can't put 2,500 Connecticut's on the market at once.
I mean, you could, they just won't bring any money.
That's right. Well, look, I mean, but to your point, Heritage just had an interesting contra. They just sold a mini hoard of 1889 CC Morgans. Yeah. Out of nowhere.
Very different coin with very different demand.
And everybody was asking me, is this going to hold? What's going to happen to 89 CC market? And it
won't diminish it a bit.
If anything, it might have improved the market. Because
some of those coins are special too. So
some of the coins were special. Yeah. But the point being for 89 CCs is that, like, I think, how many were in there? 30 or something like that. Yeah. It's something to the point of, there's so many Carson City Morgans, that's the key date. So you need 30 more, actually helps build sets.
But beyond that, there's 500 dealers who would be happy to have 10 89 CC Morgans in stock.
That's right.
So the way I've always looked at dealer inventories is as an estuary.
Yeah.
And an estuary is sort of a safe inlet, right?
Right.
That preserves, nutrients, part of the food chain, part of the ecology.
Very much part of the food chain. Same words that we used.
That's what coin dealers do.
You can't pretend that the dealers are not part of this market. You can't really hope to bypass them. And we saw this with, like, I don't know, the Brother Jonathan collection was a learning experience for me. Yeah. Brother Jonathan was a shipwreck, not a collection, shipwreck hoard that was sold in Los Angeles after all these lawsuits. Yep. And they had an offer from a single buyer of X amount of money, and all the shareholders, because it was paid off by an insurance company and descendants of insurance company and so on, all these interested parties couldn't get together, so they said, we'll put it in auction, and it sold for 60 cents on the dollar. To one person could have held the value, one dealer group could have said, we'll pay more, but we'll also uphold the value and do the estuary thing. Right. So I think that matters. I don't know how we got here. We were talking about your museum, and we started talking about estuaries.
Well, the colonial coin market, particularly in terms of pricing, it's a more challenging market. And a lot of dealers, I think, don't have the confidence to buy and sell these things. Colonial coins are weird. They're complicated. They take specialized knowledge. Now, certification of colonials has changed. I won't say helped. What certification of colonials has done is it has commoditized colonials that are easy to understand. So things that were made, let's say, with excellent technology in England's Woods Hibernias or Franklin Press tokens or Kentucky tokens, anyone can understand them. They're easy to grade.
New York theater.
Well, that's a rare thing. But yes, exactly. Those sort of things.
I just had to throw
Whereas Connecticut's, Erik mentioned having 300 different varieties of Connecticut coppers. They were made in several different mints over 4 different years, lots of different kinds of types and issues.
Terrible quality.
And that's the problem, that when they were new, 80% of them had problems that would keep them from getting graded when they were new.
When they were new.
And so that means the vast majority of colonial coins that anyone can own are going to end up in some kind of details holder.
Right.
That makes it hard for dealers to buy.
And I'm supposed to be the person who sits and prices them in VG8, VG10, fine 12.
You can't.
But I have to, right? It is the nature of trying to swim in the same pond as as early half cents, which you kind of can't, but you can. But it's still bad. Right. It's still like, what's a pitted fine worth compared to whatever.
But all 1795 half cents were struck in the same room at more or less the same time. Whereas 1787 Connecticut coppers were literally struck over a course of 4 different years in several different rooms, real ones, counterfeit ones.
So how do we make it more approachable for collectors? How do you open up?
Education is the only answer. When people know more, they have more confidence to buy things and say, look, I made an informed decision, which is why we taught our class at the A&A for 20 years.
But collectors want a simple story. This is, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
the story is the easy part. It's the pricing and marketing is the hard part.
Interesting. Yeah. So, but people want, I guess maybe simple story isn't the right word, but people want, they want a simple solution, or we want liquidity. We want to buy it, be able to sell it. And there's so much going on here. I wonder what we can do as a community to support the colonial collecting world. And
it's got to be education.
What is, I mean, are there
yeah.
any current collections being assembled, in the same way? I mean, we're seeing,
Sure.
but we're also seeing a dearth. I think we're seeing weakness in the early coppers too. Same kind of, the early half cents, early large cents had storied collections that were sold over the last 20 years.
Yes.
And we've not seen a replacement collector because it's just easier to put together a set of St. Gaudens or Buffalo nickels and gem or your registry sets of A, B, or C than it is to tackle these half cents.
Here's what I think with the half cents and large cent market and to the colonial market to an extent. Traditionally, since the late 19th century, these things have been collected by die variety. The first die variety work on large cents was written in 1869. The first die variety work on colonial coins was, shortly thereafter when Crosby wrote in 1873 and 75. People today, in the era of slabbing, don't want to collect by die variety because what that means is you're forcing yourself. Let's say you want to get 300 die varieties of Connecticut coppers, right? 150 of them do not exist in non-ugly condition. And people who have come into the market in the era of grading, I predate grading, he predates, slabbing, I predated, he does, you do too. The people who sort of grew up that only knew slabbing, they've been sort of trained.
It doesn't conform.
It doesn't conform. They don't want to buy 300 coins of which 100 are in detailed holders because they've been told their whole life that details coins are junk.
Right.
With colonial coins, that's what they are. That's just how they were made. That's how they exist. That's how they were made. But when you grow up collecting, silver dollars or whatever, you're told details coins are all problems.
So NGC grades, ancient coins with a kind of a three different standards, right?
Yes.
Like a strike, surface quality, maybe eye appeal is the third, something like that. But whatever it is, would that be a better solve?
I mean, it's a solution. I don't know if it's, you
don't like it?
It's not a slam dunk. Well, here's the thing.
Well, nothing's a slam dunk.
Like lion dollars. Let's talk about lion. Lion dollars are made in the Netherlands and they circulated particularly in Dutch areas of the New World, like, New York when it was New Amsterdam, whatever.
Right.
When you buy a lion dollar, you can buy a mint state one in a slabbed holder, let's say an MS-61, that has absolutely no strike, zero detail, it was how you were struck. Or you can buy a VF graded coin that's well struck, well centered, has original surface.
Right.
So for the people who only buy by grade, what they end up with are coins with little circulation that are often terrible coins.
Like a 19D Walker with no hand.
Bingo.
Right.
Exactly.
How do you value that coin?
How do you value that coin? Exactly. So with the detail stuff, what you end up having to do is train yourself on what they look like and like reading a catalog description to say this is a great strike, but not a great this. Most people don't want to do that because the very nature of certification has made the label the end all be all. And if we had a slabbing company that slabbed colonials, the label would be this big because there's just more information. You can't. A 70-point grade does not describe a Connecticut copper. It just doesn't. Right. And that's okay.
A piece of paper this long does.
I mean, that's why my catalog descriptions look like they do, I could write a full-page catalog description of just about any colonial coin if you gave me the time.
Right. Right. So but that is also the problem.
It
so in a world of lack of attention span, with no attention span, and we want to educate, I'm sure where you work, you would just want to educate young people coming through about the history of our nation, right? That's what we do here in Alexandria. It's all, you're here because you enjoy history and you feel it, and but don't make me do that deep dive, right? I mean, or it's clearly not working because it doesn't work to have one collector who does it, because you want to grow an ecosystem of estuary of customers. That's and right. So how do you do that? How do you get people interested? Is it coloring books? Is it, what is it that makes us approachable? But I don't know. I don't know if it's podcasting. It's
the front part of the Red Book is a phenomenal gateway into numismatics.
If they weren't in the Red Book, you wouldn't know about them. I wouldn't know about them. I can tell you that. You would, but I wouldn't. And that's why it is massively important.
These collectors, you've got to sort of dangle the carrot in front of them to let them know that these really fascinating early American stories are out there and available. And not only can they acquire the piece, they can then take that piece and use it as a stepping stone to go in 16 different directions to really understand and wrap their brains around this wonderful thing they just acquired. But it does take an investment.
It does.
It takes, you definitely need a good library.
It's a great way to get off your phone and your whatever, or at least except to research it. but it's just a good, it's a great hobby.
Well, it's also a great value prop because at this point, with silver at near $50,
that's right.
You can buy a pretty decent looking circulated Connecticut copper for the price of a Cole Morgan dollar.
Certainly, what can you get for less than an ounce of gold? It's some amazing rarities.
Oh my God,
amazing
absolutely.
rarities, right? So yeah, I think making it approachable, getting it interesting, and this bringing on. I think next year is the 250th anniversary of the country.
Yep.
I mean, we know the Trump administration is going to go big, big, big at this celebration, and I think that's going to be a real silver lining to this whole thing. Is it's like going to bring attention to coin collecting in general. And if we can bring, there's a ton of attention to the Spanish Mint is releasing coins to commemorate their involvement. They said, John, people don't realize that the Spaniards had a big involvement in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I sure didn't. And they said, no, neither did we. But we looked it up, and it turns out we do.
It's true. Yeah.
So there's big connections with every European country, of course.
Yes.
And everything around here is called Lafayette, and the French were involved. And the more we can get people to pay attention and to learn more about it. And for me, it's been more modern European history, but I should know so much more, right? I mean, Yorktown and Williamsburg.
2026 will be a great boon. When the centennial happened, interest in particularly colonial paper money exploded.
Semi-quincentennial.
It's the semi-quincentennial in 2026. But our centennial and the bicentennial in 1976 was another huge explosion in interest in colonial issues.
Yeah.
So,
I was real excited.
Yeah.
3-coin set. The government came out with.
Yeah, I mean,
quarter, half dollar, and dollar.
People still think they're worth $1 million.
Best part of my life when I was 10.
Yeah, no, I mean,
You weren't alive yet?
No.
You weren't alive in '76? Oh God, you're so young. '77? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was 60.
You never knew the
born in
joy of getting
69.
your first bicentennial half and change.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Everybody.
It just happened in 1985.
So I was 7 years old, and I would say that my memory is sort of that everybody hoarded them. Like you couldn't really find them and change immediately.
Yeah.
They don't exist, and people think they're rare. And these things are worth face value. That's it. I mean, they're just never going to be more valuable because just like the Virginia halfpenny, they were just hoarded. They were just stuck in a barrel or in jars everywhere. Yes. And that's okay because that's what makes people interested and gets people going. But I think it's a big deal.
And that's the joy of colonial things. None of these were intentionally saved at the time. Yeah, there was some coin collectors in the 18th century, but not many. So the ones that survived, everyone is a happy accident. It wasn't like everyone, it's not like a baseball card or a proof set or something or a commem that, 20,000 were made and 20,000 still exist. The survivorship is tiny and everyone's a miracle, which is one reason so many of these things look rough or corroded because so many come out of the ground. That's just how they survive. So if that challenge is appealing, colonial coins might be appealing. If you want to collect things that were made to save and were saved, colonial coins aren't for you. It's not the vibe.
Right. But you also, you need that level of education and understanding of the era. And it's not really, that's another thing that Ursula and I discussed. In Germany, she says everybody's graduating. In Europe, history degrees are much more popular than here. Yeah. So what happens is everybody graduates college learning numismatics in their PhD class. They get doctorates, whereas we don't do that sort of thing here. So no one's graduating with a history degree in the United States and going, oh, I'm going to deal in coinage. Naturally, I'm going to do colonial coinage because I know that history. So it's just it's just interesting how we lack that completely here. But
it's also very regional. As you know, I used to be a tour guide at Monticello, so a place where we taught about early American history and whatnot. We'd see a lot of school groups and tourists from all over the country and all over the world. And inevitably, the further west the group is from...
That's in a town that we don't name by name.
Charlottesville, Virginia, the home of the University of Virginia, with 34 national championships. How many national championships does Virginia Tech have again?
The second most beautiful college town in Virginia.
You'll get your first championship someday, don't worry. Well, I think you got one in bass fishing, right?
Maybe, I hope so.
We'll talk about that.
We're actually more of an education institute than we care about sports trophies. I have this.
I'm going to throw down here in a minute. But anyway, when we were giving tours at Monticello, the further west people were from, the less they knew about early American history. But I grew up 30 miles west of Philly. It was all around me.
Right.
The school bus would go by houses where George Washington stayed in 1777. You can't escape that.
And you
kind
didn't
of
even
history.
care.
Oh my God, I loved it. I still love it.
You're rare. You're rare. Like most people, we just.
I ate that stuff up.
But if you grew up in Nebraska or Nevada or something, colonial history just means less to you. But if you grew up in Nevada, CC Mint, gold, that kind of stuff means something to you. So you end up with people from primarily the Northeast being interested in colonial numismatics just because it has enriched their lives in other ways outside of coins.
If you're a colonial coin collector, what is likely the other thing you collect besides coins?
Paychecks? I don't know,
Documents, certainly the paper money.
Documents,
paper
okay,
money,
so
paper money
like
documents,
signers of
The medals.
signers of the Declaration is a big deal, right? That's a big collectible.
Well, fewer people do signer sets now. I mean, now the autograph world has kind of moved more to content, less to like just strictly signatures as such. You know, it used to be to collect clipped signatures of all the signers. No one really does that anymore.
Yeah, they have no value. Right?
Vandalism.
Just a little.
Very little value. Yeah, very little at this point. But if you collect colonial Americana, I mean, Eric and I have both had friends who have collected the coins, the paper money, the guns, the swords, the ceramics, the material culture, books,
the buttons,
whatever.
the fiscal paper.
So Americana, that's a term I wanted you to define for me. Americana is what specifically?
Americana is material culture, collectibles related to the history of America. That's it.
So it's tangential to numismatics.
Yeah, Americana.
Numismatics is Americana.
Numismatics is part of Americana for sure, which is why I define my specialty as numismatic Americana. So Americana that happens to be coins, metals, tokens, paper money, but Americana could also be a leather-bound book from 1780 or a
book from 2026.
Woodworking tools from 1820 or the hubcap of an Edsel.
Right.
All of it's Americana. You know, a neon sign is Americana.
Right. The Smithsonian, American History Museum is
full of Americana.
Full of Americana.
That's exactly. But the neat thing about collecting Americana is you're really just collecting tangible relics of history, and that could be
anything.
Anything.
No, it's anything. I mean, it's what you learn if you go to the Smithsonian. It's obvious that your mindset has to change because obviously Muhammad Ali's gloves, boxing gloves, is Americana now, right? That's part of our psyche. Kermit the Frog. They have this wonderful exhibit about modern, Prince's guitar, things like that. All the things that makes heritage auctions, successful, basically.
Right.
Well, this is really great. I mean, is there anything that we should cover that we haven't covered? I mean, this is
I don't know. Come to Baltimore. Come to the Whitman Expo. Stack's Bowers Galleries will have the 1804 dollar on display. If you're interested in colonial coins, we'll also have the next round of coins from the Dick August collection on display at lot viewing, which includes world-class collections of New Jersey coppers, Vermont coppers, and Massachusetts coppers, in addition to other important colonial things.
Shameless plug. Drove right through that opening, didn't you?
I'm gonna plug my stuff. So I'll be there, of course. Come by and visit. We'll have inventory. Eric will be there, and it's the Colonial Coin Collectors Club annual show also.
Right.
So all the big players in the C4 show. I'll be giving a lecture on Thursday night on Maryland paper money. So you can come out to that, the Newman lecture at the Whitman Expo.
I would say too that this group of dealers, the C4 kind of dealers, the colonial, the copper and the colonial guys, they're much more interested in talking to you about coins than a coin dealer of 19th and 20th century coins. We're just transactional.
We're not wholesalers.
You'll sit there. I mean, the problem ever talking to you at a show, which I can never do, is because you're always talking to somebody forever. And it's just such a bad fiscal use of time.
It is.
And my dad was the same way. He talked to somebody about barbers. That is a lost art in coin shows, is that. But the C4 guys will talk to you. They want to tell you, they want to share the love, and they probably care more about sharing the love than they do about making money in a lot of ways.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah,
if I cared mostly about making money, I'd dress better.
That's
why we get up in the morning.
But that's unusual. I mean, the coin business is a transactional business. We're all making money and trying to hustle and this and that.
Yeah.
But the C4 guys slow it down, drink a glass of wine, talk about it.
You got it.
Sniff it, tell you it smells good.
It's our specialty.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's a different group, and it's really fantastic. And so, what should people come and visit? Williamsburg.
They should definitely come to Colonial Williamsburg. Give myself a plug. If you're going to come down, email me Goldstein, EGOLDSTEIN @cwf.org. Make an appointment with me if there's something numismatic you want to see, or you want to hold a Revolutionary War musket. I'm your guy. So look me up.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining me today. This is we broke in the new gallery, and
nice.
I mean,
honored to be here first.
With a better couple guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.